Jill here. I'm welcoming you back to my channel for another blog hop. This is the August blog hop for a cherry on top. And there's another theme, of course, and this time we're focusing on a geometric shape, the triangle. And I think you'll love seeing the different ways we interpreted that challenge and thinking of your own ways to work with triangles and to scrapbook with triangles in mind. This page is about my corgi, Hazel, and you might very well hear her barking in the background any minute now, just to warn you. But it's also about how she and I bounce around from my boyfriend's house to my mom's house to home. And when we get home, we like to really settle in and get cozy and feel grounded. So that gives you a little background on the page, and that's what the journaling is about. But I want to talk through the process a bit with you and talk a little bit about some of the design elements and my way of approaching the triangle challenge, and talk a little bit about the great products I used. And so let's just jump into that. The first thing I did was I worked with a background paper from 49, I think it is, horrible memory for numbers, 49 in Market. And what I like about this paper is that it's thick and sturdy, and there are lots of great neutrals. This is just a really interesting cream color that I think offsets and works well with the whites and creams in the pattern papers I chose. So that's my base. When I was first starting, I thought, well, maybe I'll get punches out or use die cuts or something. But the more I played around with my papers, the more I realized I just like the idea of hand cutting them into triangles for a kind of subtle effect. So what you see really are squares and rectangles, but they are cut into triangles with a little space, so that you can see that. That's most apparent with the green pattern paper. All of these pattern papers are from Pink Fresh and from their line that I think is called Happy Blooms. So let me show you those papers for a minute. Here you go. All really pretty, really fresh florals. Some are kind of medium size, some are quite small. And then some of the B-sides have these nice patterns like this, this plaid. So that's the collection of papers. I'm going to say a little bit more when I get to the embellishments about the papers, because the papers have kind of built-in embellishments, which is another thing that really drew me to this line. So that's one form of cutting the triangles. The other form is simply to kind of hand cut triangles that lead the eye. So I did that with 3 of the papers. Here's another one of the B-sides with a really pretty kind of periwinkle color to add into the pinks and greens and yellows. So I enjoyed that. And then once I hand cut all the papers and put my photo down, that created the base. And then I began working usually pretty intuitively, but I think I've internalized this idea of working in triangles or groups of 3 or ways of creating visual triangles around the page. And I think you're going to be able to see that right away. So the first way I'm going to talk about the color and the embellishment is by talking about the triangles. So one is working with these they look like brads, but they're like wooden rimmed embellishments. And they're also 3 different sizes, which I think adds to the design interest. And they're from Peachy Keen by Fancy Pants, which is a line I blended in. It works really nicely with the Pink Fresh. So there's one visual triangle around the photo. And so you can see that with the embellishments. You can also see it with color. So this periwinkle color I picked up by taking one of the archival minis in violet and using that archival ink to stamp with stamps from my stash here. And then you can see that this color in the pattern paper is a little bit more of a bluish purple. Here gives us another visual triangle around the photo. Another way the color works in a slightly different shaped triangle is with the yellow. These yellows pick up this one in this kind of triangular movement, which is a little bit different place on the layout. There's also some yellow in this, so that creates this triangle. So it's just really interesting to see how that happens and how much of it your eye is drawn to that kind of design, and you do it intuitively the more you scrapbook. But I think thinking about this is really kind of interesting and helpful as you plan your page. The other thing, since I was talking about the stamping, I wanted to add in another color. So I chose this really beautiful color from the new Distress Ink Salvage Patina, and stamped triangles, a little triangular designed banner. You can find these in mini stamp sets. And then that color, which is in the leaves in this pattern paper, I picked it up there, and then also in this Peachy Keen Brad, and then in little stamping that I did in little bits for the embellishing. Another thing that works really well to create these triangles is enamel dots of one sort or another, and they're in many lines. This again is the Peachy Keen, and some of the colors worked really well for me, not all, but some. So I used these aqua ones, and I also used some of the pink and some of the blue. So you'll see those scattered around in the embellishments. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say about the embellishments is the paper had its own embellishments. And I actually did that kind of embellishing first with the paper. See, one thing is this wonderful collection, this wonderful paper within the collection that has all the little designs, the little squares. And because I was working with this triangle theme, I just picked that up and actually cut the squares into triangles and pieced them back together. Guess you can see that. And I did it in kind of different directions depending on, and for the home life, which was kind of the theme of my page, I cut it twice. So anyway, that was just fun to do. But when I was done doing all of that, I felt like I had paper and that's it. So that's where the other embellishments that add a little bit of dimension are important to me to give variety to the look of the page. I also used these paper flowers from Paige Evans, which are really pretty and cool. And if you don't mind a little bulk, they're so much fun to use. I just used one on the page to create that yellow triangle I was talking about. So that's one form of embellishment to add a little bit of dimension. The other are puffy stickers. And since this is just a, kind of open theme, playful page, I was able to use these without worrying too much how much they fit a theme, because I think they just kind of fit the spirit of the page. And so I scattered those around. I particularly liked using this very tiny yellow flower with this stamping because, again, it picks up the yellow and kind of actually mimics some of the yellow combined with that color elsewhere on the page. I think that's all I wanted to say about embellishing. The other thing that I'll say besides the journaling, I added to the journaling by using these phrase strips. They are in the Pink Fresh papers too. And so you really get a lot when you get this paper line, because you get these immediately coordinating embellishments for the price of a piece of paper. So as you can see, I've cut into this quite a bit. It's kind of Swiss cheesed. And then I used the ones that seemed appropriate here and also that picked up the colors so nicely and created, again, another color triangle. So I hope that helps you think about some design principles and working with both visual triangles and the triangle's shape for this month's challenge. So have fun as you move through the YouTube blog hop. Thanks, and I'll catch up with you again.